Hey guys, it's Mr. Hussey, 8th grade math, coming at you live here from my house. Want to go over today's lesson in terms of 8th grade math. The challenge here for you guys for these next few lessons is whenever we have a lesson with a table, or like yesterday we had some lessons with some graphs, all right, and today we'll have that too. If you're able to print these things out on your computer at home, that's going to be the best. Okay, however, if you can't, like me, I can't because I don't have enough ink for that, um, then you're gonna have to be patient, all right? And you're gonna have to write down these charts, and it may not be fun, but you're gonna have to get through that in order to do a good job on this, okay? So when I take these notes, I'm gonna assume that you cannot print them out, and that we're gonna do them on separate paper. So each day, unless I tell you otherwise, each day you're gonna take notes with me. You're going to take a picture of the notes and send it to me as part of your work, your classwork grade. And then you're going to take a picture of the homework you do and send that to me too. Okay, so now this is the second day we've been working together online. And I'll upload these documents for you. All right, this sheet here, this is our sheet of notes today. And then I'll upload the homework sheet for you today too. So let's go ahead and get started. Today's topic is equations as functions. So we'll write down here at the top, equations as functions. So we're going to write down functions can also be represented by an equation, or sometimes we call this a rule. All right, so sometimes we call the equation a rule. Functions can also be represented by an equation or rule. The equation will generate ordered pairs by taking an input, which is our x value, that results in a certain output, which is our y value. All right, so the equation will generate ordered pairs by taking an input, which are our x value, that results in a certain output or a y value. The x value is what we call the independent variable. And then the y value is what we call the dependent variable. All right, and those are some vocabulary words you're going to want to know. You're going to want to know that the independent variable is your x value and the dependent variable is your y value. All right, this next one here, the graph of an equation is the set of all its ordered pairs, which often form a line. Or a curve. So sometimes you'll see a graph like this, and other times you'll see a graph like that. Okay, and then below we're going to say this is going to be function tables. And our directions are going to be to complete each function table. All right, so number one, we have y equals x plus 7. All right, and then our table is set up like this. So if I'm going too fast, you can pause the video for a second, get that table set up, and then we'll go from there. All right? So what you have to do each time is you have to take these x values that they give you, which are called the independent variable. So you have to take what's given, the x values, and you need to plug them in here. Okay, so for instance, the first time we plug it in, let's go ahead and take our -1 and we'll plug it in for x. I'll just show you over here. So we have y equals -1 plus 7. So y would be equal to 6 in that case. So here, this will be 6. And then our x comma y would be, we're given the -1, right? So it'd be -1 comma 6. Okay, now in here, what they want you to do is they want you to show that work. So x plus 7. They want you to show, in this case, it'd be -1 plus 7. Okay. So the second one, we'll put a 0 in here. So it'd be 0 plus 7. 0 plus 7 is obviously 7. So our next one would be 0 for our x, comma 7 for our y. Now last week I was having you guys show your work like outside, like more like this in a vertical way. Today they're having you show your work like this. It's really the same thing. I think the vertical way is a little clearer, but this is a pretty simple problem, so hopefully you get what we're doing here. So in the next one, we'll take our 2. X is a 2. We'll plug it in here. So in this case, it's going to be 2 plus 7. 2 plus 7. 2 plus 7 is 9. So this one would be our x value is a 2. And our y value is a 9. Okay, the last one, we'll take our 4, plug it in. So 4 plus 7. 4 plus 7 is 11. So our x value is a 4. Our y value is an 11. All right, and that's what they're looking for. Okay, now, if you'd like, you can go ahead and try number 2 on your own, number 3 on your own, number 4 on your own, number 5 on your own, and I'll have you guys go ahead and pause this video and go ahead and give at least a few of those a shot and see what you get. I'm going to upload the answer key for the notes portion so you can check and see if you got those right. But let's go ahead and try number like 6, because number 6 has some more tricky numbers involved. All right, so number 6, do this one together with me. This one says y equals -4/3 x plus 11. All right, so let's go ahead and take number 6. Go ahead, pause that if you need to, and then we'll go from here. Okay, so in this one, when we take we're given the x is -9. So when x is -9, let's plug it in here. So I'm just taking the -9, putting it in here for x. Now, remember, -9 really means -9 over 1. All right, and from here, what we could do is we can start to think, okay, on the top, let's maybe put this negative. This negative can go on the top. Remember, it could go on the top. If you wanted, it could go on the bottom. It could even go in the middle. It just can't go on both, because then that means a negative divided by a negative, which is a positive, which it's not. It's a negative. It's clearly a negative. So I like to go ahead and take that negative sign that we have in our problem, and I like to pick a spot. So I'll pick a spot up top. So now -4 times -9, okay, this portion up here is going to give me a 36, positive 36, and then the 3 times the 1 is going to give me a 3. So we have 36 over 3, 36 divided by 3, which is 12. So really what I got is 12 plus this 11. We can't forget that 11. So 12 plus 11 is obviously 23. Okay, so y is going to be 23. So in this one, we have our x is -9 and our y is 23. Okay, second one. We'll take our -4/3 and put a -3 here. Remember, it really means -3 over 1. Okay, so on the top we have 12. On the bottom, -4 times -3 is 12. On the bottom we have 3 times 1, which is 3. So we really have a 12 on the top, a 3 on the bottom. So 12 divided by 3 is 4. And then 4 plus that 11 is 15. So we got -3, 15. The -3 comes from the x, and the 15 comes from what we got when we filled in the y. Okay, now I'm just gonna, this third one I'm gonna show really clearly here in case anyone's confused. So I'm just gonna write down the equation that we're given up here. And I'm gonna take the number we're given, which is a 3. And 3 is an x value, so we're gonna go ahead and plug that in. That x is gonna be a 3. Okay, we've talked about how 3 really means 3 over 1. So in this case, the -4 times the 3 will give us a -12, and the 3 times the 1 will give us a 3. -12 over 3 is a -4. -12 divided by 3 is a -4 plus 11. And then -4 plus 11, well, think you're cold, right? Your temperature's cold. You're going to go up 11 degrees. So your answer will be a positive number. So that's y equals 7. Okay. So in this case, y is 7. So we got 3, 7. And then for number 6, or for the number 6, I'm sorry. I guess it is number 6 too, but for this number 6 for x, the -4 times the 6 gives us -24 over 3. So that's going to be -8 plus 11. -8 plus 11 is positive 3. So we're going to have 0.6, 3. Now, eventually what they're going to have you do is to go ahead and plot this equation here, they're going to have you in a few lessons from now, they're going to have you make on a graph or make a graph, they're going to have you plot these points. Okay, so point -9, 23 would be somewhere over here, -3, 15, 3, and 7, and then 6 and 3. So your graph would look something like that when you plot those points. Okay? Obviously, we'll be more detailed here when we get to that. We'll make sure you guys either have some graph paper or print this out or just do it detailed. But basically, this equation here can be written in a table like we did today. It can also be written on a graph, or it can be written as a rule. This is called the rule or the equation. Like in our notes today, the equation or rule is this part of it, the graph is this part of it, and then the table is this part of it. And you can do it in all three forms, kind of like water, ice, and steam. All right, so we'll move on to the back. Okay, so the back of your note sheet looks like this. Okay, so these directions say, given the function and domain, find the range values. All right, so for number 7, let's write this down, y equals x minus 5. And then they tell you that the domain is equal to 4, 6, and 8. Okay, now this is critical that you remember what these words mean. Domain is your set of x values. And then your range is your set of y values. All right. Remember, your range can also mean like a temperature range, like a distance between 2 points. Like say it was 90 degrees in the morning and 70 at night. Then your range in temperature would be 90 minus 70, which is 20. But range also means your set of y values, and that's what we're using it for in this situation. So in number 7, which you can see right up here, which I copied down, we're going to go ahead and take the equation they give us, y equals x minus 5, and we're going to start to plug in these numbers. Since it's domain, those are our x values. So we're going to start to plug in these values for x. So y equals, in this case, we'll take our 4 minus 5. 4 minus 5 is -1. So our first range value, our range value that matches up with this domain value, will be the value of -1. So we'll put a -1 there for range. Then the second one, we're going to take the 6 and we'll plug it in here for x, right? Because our domain is our x values. So we'll take the 6, put it right there. 6 minus 5 is 1. So out will come for y a 1. And then finally, when we take our 8, we'll plug it in right here for an x value. And 8 minus 5, that gives us y is equal to 3, because 8 minus 5 is 3. So this one will be 3. So our range, when in the situation that the domain is 4, 6, 8, then our range would be -1, 1, and 3. Why don't you guys try number 10? All right, so go ahead, pause the video, try number 10. You can look back up at number 7 for some help, but go ahead and try number 10. All right, so once again here, we're trying to, if you look at the directions, we're trying to find the range values, okay? So if we're given the domain is our x values, right? Then we need to take them one at a time and plug them in for x. So let's take the first one. So when x is -6, you got to be careful here. That minus has to drop down, and for the x, we have to put in -6. So it's like minus 6. So that's gonna, those two minuses will turn to a plus, right? And y would equal 2. So our range for this one would be 2. When x is -6, y would be 2. And then we're going to go ahead and take our next number, which is a 2, and we're going to put it in here. So -4 minus 2. So think of a temperature that's cold, -4 degrees outside, and then you minus by 2, or you drop by 2. So that's going to give us a -6. And then the final one, when we plug in a 7, is going to be -4 minus, you see we're taking this 7 right here, minus 7, which is going to be -11. So your range is 2. Sometimes they'll rewrite this. In fact, I'd like you to do it this way. They'll rewrite it from least to greatest. So they'll take the coldest number, or the smallest number, or the lowest number beneath the ground, and they'll put that first, then -6, then, so we're just taking these numbers and ordering them. So that's your range there for number 10. Okay, if you'd like to try the other two up there for practice, you can. Let's go on to that last section, the types of functions, okay? So we have types of functions. Okay, now I'm going to do this on the sheet. Obviously, you can go ahead and pause it. If you need to do it on your blank paper, that's fine. You'll just need to draw these two charts down and write this down. And when we get to the this part, the graphing part, I'll go back and do it on the blank white sheet so you feel comfortable there. Okay, so there's two types of functions. Okay, so the first one, let's do up here what we were doing on the first side of the paper. So we'll take our -7, we'll plug it in here. So we got -7 plus 3. When we do -7 plus 3, that gives us a -4. And then we'll take our numbers, so -7, which is x, right? So our x is -7, so we'll write -7, comma, and our y value in this case is -4. Okay, we'll do the same thing here. We'll take our -3, we'll put it in there. So it's like -3 plus that 3, which is obviously 0. We'll write our points, the -3 for x and the 0 for y. We'll do the same thing here with a 0, so we'll take a 0 plus 3. Okay. And then what's going to happen is once we have all these points, like I was kind of showing you on the first side of the paper when I did this little thing over here, okay, they want you in this case to plot these points. Okay, so -7, 4. All right, I did that incorrectly because it says -7, -4, so I should have gone over 7 and down 4. Okay, and then we have -3, 0. So the first number you go left, right, right? This is always a left, right number, then an up, down number. So -3, and then I go up and down nothing. The next one is 0, 3. So I go 0, and then up 1, 2, 3. The next one is 2, 5. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the last one is 5, 8. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 4, 6, 8. Right. And then I'm going to go ahead and draw a line there. Okay. Now, if you don't have the graph paper, then what I would like you guys to do is draw just a generic XY coordinate grid here. We'll make this the Y, we'll make this the X, and then just show how that line would go something like that. Okay. And make sure you have, I'd like you to label a couple points. So label this point, this would be 0, 3. And this point where it hits the x-axis, they call this the x-intercept, and they call that the y-intercept because it intercepts the x-axis. This one will be -3, 0. So if you don't have the graph paper, go ahead and take the time to do that. Make sure you write that in. Okay, and then just see what I'm doing here. If you had the graph, could you plot the points like I did up here? And if you have any questions on this during my office hours today from 1 to 2 or from 8 to 9 in the morning, any school day, I can help you with that. Just shoot me some questions, and if we need to, we can even video chat somehow. But I can definitely answer any questions you have at that time. All right. All right. So this is one type of equation. All right. The first equation produced a line. So this equation is what we call a linear. If you don't have your notes here printed out, then make sure you write down a linear equation. This is a linear equation from the word line because it makes a line. Okay, so down here, the first equation produced a line, so it's called a linear equation. All right. So linear equation is an equation that produces a line. Now on this one here, let's go ahead up to the second one. Then we're almost done. You'll do your homework and after this. So this is the last one we have for today. For your notes. Okay, so we'll take our -3 here. We'll plug it in since it's an x. We'll plug it in for x. Now, -3 squared means remember, it means two of those things multiplied by each other. So it means -3 times -3, and that gives us a +9. So our numbers are -3, 9. Because I'm getting the -3 here from my x, and when I plug it in, -3 times -3 gives us a +9. We got to drop down that y equals, right? And that's why it goes here for y. All right, the second one, -2. So -2 squared, right, gives us -2 times -2 or 4. 0 squared gives us 0 times 0 or 0. 2 squared gives us 2 times 2, which is 4. So in this case, our numbers are 2, 4, right? For 2 for the x, 4 for the y. And then when we do 3 squared, that gives us 3 times 3 or 9. So when I plot these points, it's not going to form a line. All right, so let's take a look here. -3, 9. Goes there. Then we're going to plot -2, 4. Then we're going to plot 0, 0. We're going to plot 2, 4. And then we're going to plot 3, 9. So this equation gives us something that looks like this. Okay, and you'll see that a lot more in high school next year with Mrs. O'Brien, Mr. Kane. That second equation produced a curve. So it's called what we call a quadratic. Equation. It's called a quadratic equation. This year we'll focus on graphing linear equations. All right. So if you don't have your paper, then you're going to need to come down here mark point. Make sure you know this point is 0, 0. Okay, mine, I should have been a little more careful there with my line, but that point's 0, 0. And then when it's a curve, it's what we call a quadratic. Equation. All right? So please use these notes, front and back. Put them into your math binder. Keep them neat because you'll be able to use this on quizzes and tests moving forward. Plus, it's just good to stay organized, stay neat in your math binder. So put these notes in your math binder, take a picture of them front and back, and send that to me as part of your assignment for Friday. This would be Friday, due by midnight right before midnight on Friday, which is tomorrow. And then you'll also have to do the homework. So the homework questions, let's take a look at those. So for homework, you're going to do numbers 1 through 4. And then the odds. Okay, so for homework, which I'll upload this document, but you're going to do 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Actually, we'll make it 1, 2, and 3. You'll do 1, 2, and 3, and then you'll do the odds, okay, after that. So 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, and 15. Okay, and if you don't have this paper, if you can't copy this, then you're going to need to draw a little graph for each of these and just plot your points as close as you can. All right, so it won't be perfect, but these should be all be forming lines, okay, because it said this year on our notes that we will focus on graphing linear equations in this unit. Okay, now there's a possibility they might throw in like one like that, but I don't think they would throw in a lot of those. Okay, so most of these should end up being lines. Okay, if you remember back to our lesson a couple days ago, try to think about if the slope is positive or negative. Like this slope here, that's if you're running this way, you're going uphill, so that's a positive slope. Whereas if the line was going like my pencil's going, then, and you were running this way, then you'd be running downhill, so that'd be a negative slope. All right, so you could look at like all these ones right here. That's going to be a positive slope. I'll explain this later, but that's going to be a negative slope. This one's going to be a positive slope. Positive slope. And that deals with that letter M we learned about the other day, where M means slope. That M means the slope. And the M always comes right before the X. So that's why even though this one's a positive 7, the number in front of the X is the number that shows you the slope, and we'll talk about that more. We haven't got to that lesson yet. All right, so your homework for tonight is to do numbers 1, 2, and 3, and then 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, and 15. Make sure you show your work on separate paper or photocopy this and show it on this. Make sure you show your table and your graph, and you can use your notes. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a nice day. Take care. Ask me any questions you have. Feel free to ask me any questions.